Hi folks, how are you? You might be wondering why I've got these flowers on my head and I'm holding this crazy microphone. Well, today's video is all about colour or lack of it. And I was quite overwhelmed yesterday. I had a 10-hour drive back from Cumbria, from up north. I came down and I noticed just how grey it was on the roads, but I also noticed the battleship grey of the cars, and it was all very uninspiring and very monotonous, and really got me thinking about the importance of colour to our well-being, to the way we see the world, and to our creativity. So here, this microphone I painted myself. I also made this headdress, and I think colour's really synonymous with creativity. And if you look behind me here, I've got this lovely Keith Haring painting. I do really like bright colours in artwork, and Frida Kahlo, in case you can't tell from my headdress, she's one of my favourite artists. And I do also collect brightly coloured paintings. I just really love colour. I always have been a bit of a colourist. So it got me thinking a little bit about maybe bring back flower power, psychedelic clothes. Colour does make a difference to the world. You know, when we see a bright bunch of flowers in the supermarket, even, it can, connect us in with nature and make us feel a bit more uplifted, can't it? So I'm just wondering whether everything is quite grey and beige and trendy, and by design, that it's meant to dumb us down. It's meant to make us feel uninspired and not particularly creative. And, perhaps we're living in a bit of a mediocre world where we're supposed to conform to the norms, aren't we? In this monochromatic world. I find it uninspiring, undramatic, unsensational, a bit underwhelming, to be honest. When I think of all the bright colours that I used to have at nursery, I remember one day we had different tables. And this is something I remember from when I was I reckon I must have been about 3 or 4. And on these tables were different colours. One table was all blue, one was all red, and one was all yellow. And I just really remember the bright colours on these tables, and it must have really had an impact on me. But I know that these days in nurseries, that everything's very muted down and dumbed down, even from that age. And the argument is, so I used to work as a teacher in nurseries, is to basically not to overstimulate the children. But I do feel that we live in quite a society, quite a culture that does overstimulate adults and children anyway, with all the E numbers, all the chemicals, and, perhaps all the screen time and all of the things that are around us. So it seems like a strange argument to me. So yeah, it's a real pity that things seem to be grey and beige. We're living in a bit of a beige world, a bit of a sterile world. And I sort of follow these creators on YouTube. I get quite inspired by them, actually. They live a sort of 40s lifestyle. And I was looking at this one lovely creator called Hannah. I can put a link to her underneath as well. And she just really celebrates colour a lot in the way she dresses and in her home as well. She's got a bright, colourful kitchen. And, if you think how muted down everything is now, minimalist, everything looks a little bit like an airport waiting room or doctor's waiting room. And it's like, let's make our homes a sanctuary of colour, of creativity, of, what makes us feel really good. It's really important to do that, isn't it? So in this sort of world, which feels a bit humdrum sometimes, where we're supposed to be adulting, I think it's really good to sort of step out of that and be colourful and creative. Here in Glastonbury, where I live, we have a very colourful high street. And there's a shop called Ashok and Babali that I used to work in for a year. And it's so colourful, it's so full of creativity. And then I did, the year before last, go to India, and I experienced all the colours, smells, textures. It felt like all my senses were engaged. When I came back to the UK, it did feel a little bit humdrum. Yeah, even worse than 50 Shades of Grey. It felt like 5 million shades of grey, anyhow. So what do you think about colour? For me, it is synonymous with childhood and also with nature. If you look at the range of colours that are in nature, and I just love the whimsical nature of colour. You know, when I do my illustrations, they're bright and colourful. The art I'm drawn to is very colourful as well. Maybe some of you feel a bit overwhelmed by colour, but I think it's really significant. And I think that the fact that everything's grey and a little bit sterile, I feel like that's sort of, maybe it's a way of trying to sort of dumb us down, make us feel uninspired. You know, if you go to the Gaudis in Barcelona, you know, they're wild mosaics, aren't they, of architecture, and the imagination has just run wild. And so I'm going to stop this at 6 minutes, I think. So what do you think about colour? Is colour a good expression for you, or do you get overwhelmed by too much colour? Anyway, it'd be lovely to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Amanda Ambles, and see you soon. Take care. Bye.